Good morning to you. We live in a zoo. I feel like a monkey. I hope you do too. Good morning, everyone. Let's try not to twist my ankle on the pile of rocks. I've been inspired this morning. We're going to do our Bhakti Bite session outside. Hey, Joshua. Hey, Billy. Galactic Overlord. Good morning. Dog is happy. Dog is happy. Oh. Driving. Okay. Well, let's try not to spill any tea. I'm gonna be attacked by cats. But we can do this. It's gonna be lovely. Ah! Okay. It is mighty foggy. Actually, it's one of the beautiful things that I really love about this area that I live in. We are still pretty high elevation, but we're in a valley between the mountain tops. So we get this really like tunnel of fog sort of thing. We get like I don't know what it's called, of weather. We can watch the snow hit the mountains and then stop like right before the bottom of the mountain so it won't hit our yard kind of thing. I don't know what it's called. It's not called a rain shadow. Up in Seattle, we call that a rain shadow. All right. But here it's just fog. Good morning, good morning. For those of you who are new here, my name is Deborah. I am a reverend and a movement facilitator. And this is our Bhakti Bites class. Bhakti means devotion. So devotion to what? Self-care. Good morning, Iris. To self-care. Because so many of us get through our entire day and we're like, shit, what was that thing I forgot? Oh yeah, me. Oops, everything else got done on my list. But I fell to the wayside because I didn't prioritize self-care, because I'm not used to prioritizing self-care, because somehow my value got placed in what I provide for others or do or create or whatever produce outside of myself. But to have the capacity to show up well for ourselves and for others, right? We need that self-care. You're avoiding self-care deliberately. That's okay too. Some days it's weird. You're actively choosing not to. Well, there's different types of self-care, right? Like some types of self-care may mean waking up earlier than you usually do. Guess what? I got up early today. Hence why I'm all chipper. But then the other side of that same self-care can look exactly the opposite. Self-care can be sleeping in and not waking up early, right? Actively choosing not to. Not today. Not today, self-care. Not today. All right. Well, if you would like to join us, Billy, for this mudra and this meditation, you are more than welcome to. Otherwise, you don't have to, right? This is not, I swam in the lake of self-care and refused to get out, which now is the problem. Be mindful, right? We want to be mindful in all the things, because self-care can turn into, we know those people who have an addiction to the gym, right? Who use self-care as a means of avoidance for other things. So it's all about balance. It's all about being present and mindful with what your needs are as they change, as they shift and evolve day to day, right? So have you guys been hanging on to your mudra this morning? Here, let me share I'm going to share the live here really quick. Give me just a sec. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Okay. Morning, Nikki. We are outside doing our Bhakti Bites outside today. Ooh, look! I found a poisonous lichen. This right here. It's called wolf lichen. Wolf lichen. Bright neon. Totally off topic, guys. Bright neon guy. Don't consume that. It's not good for you. But there's one that looks almost identical, except that it's a different color. I'm sure I've got some. Yeah, look. Now we're hunting for lichen this morning. This one is usnea. Usnea is really, really good for the lungs. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial. I've used it in smoke mixes. I have a tincture going in there right now. Usnea, really good stuff. Wolf lichen, really bad stuff. Look very similar. The only thing is the color. But hold on, let's see. Because usnea has tubular rhizomes, which means that there's wolf lichen does too. I can't even use that as a difference. Wolf lichen is going to snap really quickly when you gently pull. Yeah, it's just going to snap off. You're not going to really see it break into sections. But here, just a different shade of green. But here with usnea, you can gently pull on the strings and they'll separate into sections before snapping. Hold on, let me see if I can find a piece here. I'm sure you guys probably can't see that. It separates into all these sections before it snaps. What part of the country do you find these? Anywhere that's wet enough and cool enough for lichen to grow. So they're probably in a lot of different places around the country. I don't know a lot about East Coast herbalism because I don't spend a lot of my time over there. But there are definitely a lot of it on the West Coast and in the North. Ow! Cat? Really? Okay. Can you see can they be made into teas? Did you hear that? I've never made a tea with it just because of like if I was going to make mushroom tea, I'd dry it out first and powder it or something before making a tea out of it because of the way, I don't think it with a hot water would be enough to take the medicine out of it. But again, we're talking about usnea. Hold on, let's see if I can take a sip here safely without getting... You've eaten it directly raw? I've never eaten it raw. I've always just made medicine out of it. But again, we're looking at the difference here between usnea, which is medicinal, and wolf lichen, which is poisonous. The subtle color difference. And sometimes usnea looks fluffy like this lichen too. This one's just wet. It was on the ground. The medicine, so a lot of times in herbalism, you can look at the plant and it resembles what it does for you or what part of the body it works on. This resembles the pathways and capillaries and veins, what the inside of the lungs looks like. This is, they often refer to it as the lungs of the forest sort of thing. It's really, really, really good for respiratory issues. Like I said before, I've used it in a smoking mix. I've used it, I usually make tincture medicine out of it. So I wouldn't eat it directly, but again, make sure you're getting the right stuff. Usnea, U-S-N-E-A. U-S-N-E-A. Usnea. Yeah, steaming it would probably be a good idea. I would say make a tincture and use the tincture. Well, I don't give prescription sort of stuff on a live, but what can you tell us about the aliens, and should we be prepared? I don't know much about the aliens, to be honest. I'm the wrong person to ask, but I can tell you about the plants. Thanks, Billy. So I've spent all of these. Yes, there are some herbs that are good for blood sugar. I don't have them off the top of my head right now. I'd have to go look in my books. But if you've got the need to balance your blood sugar, you've got diabetes or whatnot, I highly suggest looking into Ayurvedic nutrition, because Ayurvedic nutrition is going to offer you a great deal of alternatives to heavily processed, high sugar kind of stuff. Yeah, so look into Ayurveda. Telebaked, mullein versus usnea. Good question. Usnea is like antibacterial, antimicrobial. It will kill the virus. Usnea is actually used as an herbal antibiotic in different, what's the core words I'm looking for? Composition with a couple other plants. You can make, this turns into an antibiotic alternative. But don't tell the world that, because otherwise, yeah. Mullein is an expectorant. Mullein, that hairiness of the leaf, it agitates the lungs, and it agitates and breaks up mucus and in the sinuses and in the lungs, and can help pull that up and out. That's why you ate it. Yeah, so mullein will help you cough. Yeah, mullein will get rid of like a bunch of mucus you got in there. But if you have like if you're working to kill the virus that is producing that mucus, you could combine usnea and mullein in a nice tincture. Thank you, Melissa. Yes, Ayurveda. Yes. So, my friends, let's work on our lungs today. We're out here in the woods. We're talking about lungs. We've got this beautiful foggy morning that's soothing my dry lungs. We've got a wood stove inside keeping us warm, which dries out the house. So it's actually really nice to step out in the morning and get a nose full of fog. So would you guys like to join me for Bhakti Bites for our meditation this morning? We will do a meditation with the lungs and the heart space to expand the lungs and the heart space, to release some of that mucus that you got going on. And our mudra for the week is the Vyana mudra. Remember, it's the mudra for expansion. So the Vyana mudra is done like so. You can do it with both hands. Keep your pinky and your ring fingers extended. Bring your middle finger into the halfway point of your thumb, and then bring the tip of your pointer finger to the tip of your thumb. So your mudra should look something like this. It can look like this. It can look like any variation there where this finger fits for you. Keep those other two fingers extended. This is your expansion mudra. It's called the Vyana mudra and is the mudra for expansion. So if you are ready to join me for just a brief little meditation, we're going to sit with this mudra and we're going to feel that expansiveness as it moves out from our heart. If you've got a moment, if you can safely do so, go ahead and grab this mudra. Again, it's called the Vyana mudra, and we do it by leaving our pinky and ring finger extended, moving the middle finger into the halfway point of the thumb, and then touching the point of the pointer and the thumb together on both hands. Okay? Place that palms up in your lap, and if you can do so safely, go ahead and close your eyes. We're going to begin with 3 deep breaths to fully arrive for our practice, and I'm going to move so you guys can see the mudra. Okay. Go ahead and begin by inhaling the breath through the nose, through the lungs, and all the way down into the belly. Sigh it out. Inhale again, lifting the heart and elongating the spine. And let it go. Inhale once more, expanding the rib cage in all directions, front, sides, and back. And release. Now, as you're holding your mudra, I invite you to loosen any pressure you find there. Remember, we use no more than the weight of a nickel to hold our mudra. That's very little weight, very little pressure, and really is more just making contact with those points. Do the best you can to hold the mudra in this position. Get as close as you can to it. And then let's focus our attention on the heart space. Follow the breath as we inhale, expanding the rib cage, lifting the heart, and keeping the lips sealed, exhaling through the nose as the rib cage falls back down around the heart. Continue with several slow, steady breaths, inhaling to expand the chest, exhaling, allowing it to fall back into you. Deep, slow breaths. And if your mind monkeys are busy this morning, simply thank them for their service and return your attention to your breath. Remember that the most important part of meditation is your intention and your attention. Our intention here is to simply follow the breath. Watch the way that it expands and contracts the rib cage. And we bring our attention back again and again to this practice. Now, after several breaths here, you are quite familiar with that feeling of the rib cage expanding within your chest. I invite you to imagine on your next inhale that your rib cage expands just a little outside of your body, just a little bit bigger than you. And then as you exhale, allow the rib cage to fall back down around your heart. With each inhale, expanding the rib cage a little bit more outside of your body. Inhaling to expand, as if each breath you're taking in a little more oxygen than before, a little more and a little more than your body can hold. Inhaling to expand, using the breath to expand your rib cage out around your body. Expanding the breath, allowing the breath to be bigger than you. And exhaling back into your heart center. Take several more breaths here, following each inhale all the way to the top as it expands around your entire being. Exhaling to come back to your heart center. Again, gently bringing the mind back to this practice, back to the breath, over and over as many times as necessary, without judgment, without shame, without blame. Just a gentle redirect. This mudra works to balance the blood pressure, to treat heart conditions. This mudra works to treat oversleeping in the morning. This mudra works to balance all three Ayurvedic doshas, all three body types. And all we need to do is hold our hands gently in this position and breathe. Expanding on the inhale. Releasing with the exhale. Allowing your consciousness to sink into this practice. Letting go of attachments. Letting go of worry and fear. Just being present with the breath. Allowing that expansive feeling to grow within your chest, grow within your entire being, spreading through every limb, all the way to the tips of your fingers and toes, to the very top of your head, outside of your body, in your energy field, expanding out. As if you had no limits. With each inhale, remember that there is no limit to how far you can expand out from your being. I encourage you to continue with this practice as long as you would like. Continue expanding. And when you feel complete, I invite you to bring your hands to prayer or simply lay one over the other over your heart in gratitude for today's practice. In gratitude simply for the breath. Offer yourself a little gratitude as well for taking the time for self-care today, or just for hanging out while we did self-care. Thanks for holding space. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you so much. So again, for those of you just joining us, this was the Vyana mudra. The Vyana mudra is done like so. Keep your pinky and your ring finger extended. Bring your middle finger into the halfway point of your thumb, and then bring your pointer finger to the tip of your thumb. And remember, no more than the weight of a nickel. You're not trying to pressure anything. You're not trying to pop anything or pinch anything. It's no more than the weight of a nickel. We're barely making connection here. Keep those other two fingers extended and lay this palms up in your lap. For acute use, for acute purposes, this mudra is recommended to be done 30 minutes twice a day or 15 minutes 4 times a day. So if you are having issues with your heart, if you're having issues with blood pressure, for me, I've been using it this week because I've been having issues not waking up in the morning when I say I'm going to. And guess what, guys? I woke up early this morning. I woke up way early this morning, actually, and still kind of like battled a little bit to get myself out of bed, but I made it out of bed early. So, Sag, did you see Mune? Did you see my black kitty, Mew Mune? Of course, Joshua. It's called the Vyana mudra or Vyana mudra, Vyana mudra. You may have also seen my black and gray dog here. Good, Cougar Queen. I'm glad. Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome, Eggs. A lot of hugs. Okay. Vyana. Vyana. Thank you, Nikki. Grateful you're here as well. Thank you guys for sharing space. I really love these sessions. You know, I actually started these Bhakti Bites classes. Thank you, Iris. I appreciate you too. Months ago, for personal accountability. I was working with a teaching platform, a community, and teaching there. And I realized that I was hesitant to teach because I was afraid that I couldn't be accountable to the classes. Thank you, Tosh. That's so cool. And I realized that what I needed to do was 2 things. One, choose something that I needed and choose a time that worked really well for me. So part of my goal was getting up and practicing my self-care in the morning when my son sleeps in. So doing these classes has afforded me that opportunity to show up with you guys. So I want to tell you how grateful I am, especially to those of you who've been here for months, who have been doing these classes with me, sitting with me in the mornings, holding space with me, sharing space with me, practicing with me. Because when we sit together, it makes a difference. There's 3 crows that just flew overhead. When we sit together, when we practice together, it makes a difference. One of my favorite quotes is from Thich Nhat Hanh, where he says, the next coming of the enlightened one is unlikely to be a single person, but instead a sangha, a community of people practicing mindfulness together. And I feel that, I see that in so many places that I look around the world right now, and people coming together. And, it's not about there being one person that we're putting on a pedestal. It's the realization and the deep understanding that we all are interconnected. We all have that divine spark, and it's all of our individual responsibility to walk that path, to enlighten ourselves, right? The term guru means what? That which brings you from darkness to light. That's it. That which brings you from darkness to light. It doesn't mean enlightened teacher. It doesn't mean master. It doesn't mean any of these things. It just means that which brings you from darkness to light. And in that way, you are your own guru, because you can tell yourself you're going to get up in the morning. You can set an alarm to get up in the morning. You can ask your partner to kick you out of bed if you don't get up with your alarm. But ultimately, you are the one who has to pick yourself up out of bed and put your feet on the floor and walk yourself to the bathroom or the kitchen or wherever it is you go first when you get out of bed. It's you. And you can have all the encouragement and support in the world. But if you don't take that final step, if you don't make that decision for yourself, there's nobody else that can do that for you. And it's time to step into that role for yourself. You deserve that. You deserve the part of you that loves you so much that you don't forget your self-care. And it's okay. I know sometimes we forget and we don't take care of ourselves and whatnot. But the you that loves you so much, to not judge you for it, to not hate you for it, to not get mad at you for it, to not shame and blame you for it, but to say, it's okay. Let's try again tomorrow. Thanks, eggs. It's okay. We can try again tomorrow, because tomorrow never actually comes. It's always just today. You wake up. What's Janis Joplin? Why do today what you can put off to tomorrow, man? Right? Why do it today? Because tomorrow never actually comes. So you can keep saying, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow, but there's never is a tomorrow. Tomorrow is always the possibility of what comes next. It's not. I caught myself somewhere on my spiritual journey with this lesson. I was walking by the trash can in my house, and I tossed trash toward the trash can, and I missed. It was just a piece of paper. I missed, and I left it on the floor. And I started walking by, as I'd done 10 million times before. I started walking by, and I had this sudden, hey, in my head. And it was that all you have is right now. Tomorrow may never come. In 5 minutes or an hour, you may not be here. Because ultimately, we don't know those things. So if you're going to do it, just do it now. Right? Just do it now. And I turned around, mildly begrudgingly, and I put the trash in the trash can. But it made a profound difference in the way that I approached, especially the tough things, especially the things that I don't want to do, especially the things that make me frustrated or uncomfortable, and go, yeah, I'm afraid of doing it. But just because I'm afraid of doing it doesn't mean I can't do it. And oftentimes I'm afraid of doing it because I'm not doing it. Right? That first jump off that tall bridge is the scariest one. Once you jump a second time, you're like, whoa, that's fun. Let's do it again and again and again and again. You're learning to let yourself be and not throw shade when I don't meet my own expectations. That is a huge, huge, huge process, right? you're stuck with yourself for your entire life. My mama used to always say that, do you want to create an enemy of yourself? Because you're stuck with that. And that's a battle you're going to wage every single day. It's a war you're going to live with your entire life if you make an enemy of yourself. And if anybody is going to treat you well, if anybody's going to treat you right, you need to be the first one to do that. Because if you don't do that, you'll tolerate bullshit from other people. You'll tolerate the same shit that you give yourself, the same shade you throw at yourself, the same shitty self-talk, the same put-downs. You'll accept those from other people because it's normal fodder. It's protocol. Yeah, they're just confirming the fact that I'm an idiot. What does my sweatshirt say? It's a Lost Coast sweatshirt from Humboldt County, from the coast, from a cute little cove, Shelter Cove. That's what it's called. Prince, I'm not looking to inherit a kingdom. There is already a temple within me. And when we each recognize that we are the temples for that Christ consciousness lives within, that the divine God lives within, when we are those temples and we stand in that truth, then we are one with that, with Christ and with God. And we do not need to inherit anything. We do not need to take. We do not need to pillage and plunder and fight for anything. We recognize that we already are all the things that we need and all the things that the books already talk about. Not the shameful part, not the sinful part, not the shit that you're broken and whatnot. Yeah, of course you're broken. But you can love yourself back to health. You can love yourself back to God. You can love yourself back to divinity. And that's the process of being human. And when we show up in other people's spaces with a sense of curiosity and willingness rather than a sense of righteousness and arrogance, then we have the opportunity to learn. When we show up with righteousness and arrogance and whatnot, then we close ourselves off to the process of learning and experiencing something new. So I encourage you. I encourage you to do so. I have my inheritance. I am exactly Cougar Queen. Dee, good question. Who are you to say what's enough for God, right? These are the human expectations that this human stories, our limited brains as humans, our limited perception, our limited understanding of reality. Divinity knows far more than we do. And it is simply arrogant to look at anything in the world and say, God said no to that. That's wrong. I know what God means. I know what God says. And that it's my job to then go around and tell other people that they're doing it wrong. My friend, my brother. If you don't see God in all, you won't see God at all. At all, if you don't see God at all, you won't see God at all, at all. Daisy Flower friend, you asked if I always been into yoga or was there a catalyst? Yeah, there was a catalyst for just kind of learning self-care and taking care of my body and exploring other things. But I'm a reverend. I've been a reverend for 9 years, and I actually found yoga a little bit before that. And learning yoga was a process of remembering for me. I've always done, a lot of movement with my body, so I felt comfortable in my body. And when I found these poses, I was like, oh yeah. I felt like I'd kind of already been doing them. And because of that, I explored a lot deeper into the yogic philosophy and the teachings the discoveries that Vedic sciences have found over many, 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 many more years than the Western sciences. So I love and appreciate you too, Cougar Queen. Jake, it took you a while to see who you want to be. You mean even now it's hard not to let yourself shape someone for who they want to see. Yeah, let you shape yourself into who they want to see rather than who I want to be seen. So we talk about that in terms of like authenticity. We talk about authenticity a lot, but the question is really, what is authenticity? Is authenticity just going around and doing whatever the fuck you want, no matter who it hurts, no matter what it does, no matter how much it screws up your life? No, of course not, right? That's not authenticity. But how do we find that authenticity? How do we find our authenticity underneath the layers and layers and layers and layers of ego that we have built to protect ourselves and to take care of ourselves? Sorry, friend, I don't go live with people I don't know, but still feel free to send me a message about going live another time. Crystal Rose. Yeah, same. Feel like you've practiced it already. Have you looked into the 8 limbs of yoga? Definitely research the 8 limbs of yoga. Start reading about that kind of stuff, because if you feel like the asanas, the physical practice of yoga is familiar to you, then I guarantee you that when you sink into the other teachings, you're going to go, oh my, yeah. It's going to be a bunch of confirmation, because it is really valuable. The yamas and the niyamas, indeed. Yes. But the yamas and the niyamas are just one limb of yoga, and there are 8 limbs to it, and it's basically yes, it has been incorporated with the religion of Hinduism, but yoga, the Vedic sciences themselves, are not a religious practice. They are a scientific understanding of life, of the way that we are intimately interconnected with life, and the way that we can find balance and wholeness within this life. And they helped me come home to my temple. They have helped me come home to my temple. They have helped me even recognize that I have a temple here, and that I have spent so many years destroying my temple, graffitiing the walls, throwing rocks at windows, letting people come in and throw ragers, and literally tearing down the roof. And then I lay in bed at night and go, why am I so exhausted? Why am I so tired? Why do I feel like life takes so much from me? Because I wasn't even protecting my temple. I wasn't even taking care of my temple. And the first response that I wanted to do was to beat myself up about it, right? To be mad about it, to chide myself about it, to guilt myself about it. But really, how much did you ever learn from being yelled at? How much did you ever learn from being put down? We don't. We don't actually learn a lot from shame. Thank you, Katie, for the rose. We learn negative self-talk. We learn to put ourselves down. We learn to treat ourselves as if we are less than, when we are really so much more. Nikki, honestly, I think I've been on autopilot all of my life. Most of us are on autopilot. So we've talked a little bit about like human development and wellness, right? I spent 20 years in the field and in education, higher education, for human development and wellness. And when we talk about human development and wellness, I talk about the fact that those first 7 years, your brain is literally in the theta brainwaves. Your brain is still in the dream time. That's when we're adults and you go dream at night, your brain drops into theta brainwaves. When you're 7, up until the age of 7, your brain is still in theta brainwaves. You are literally unconscious to a degree. And your brain doesn't finish developing until your 20s. And then from there, if we are not given the tools or the practices or familiar with these things to develop our awareness of ourselves and to take stock of our temple and see what's been built and what needs to be repaired and what needs to be changed and taken care of, then we do continue to operate unconsciously. We operate based on the wiring that was put in place by our physiology, by our nature, and by our nurture, right? Then you're just a wired machine that is constantly responding to triggers and is victimized by life and by, right? The universe is life is either happening to you or through you. And the intention is to clear our channel so that life can happen through us. Andrew, yes, when I say temple, so my analogy is simply the realization that this is my temple, and that this temple was a gift to me in this lifetime, because it is where I house my soul. It is where I house my divinity. And it is where I come home to that divinity. And it took me nearly until my 40s to see this as my temple and to truly start respecting it as my temple and not as a tool for others, not as a, there's like 6 million other words flying through my head right now. Hold on. This is your temple. And I like to use the analogy because it helps me visualize that process of coming home to myself. It helps me remind myself that if I were to go into someone else's, if I were to go into a temple and start throwing a fit and talking to myself, or talking to other people the way that I have talked to myself over this lifetime, or started treating other people's temple, actual temple, the way that I treat this temple, I'd be kicked out of temple. I'd be asked to leave. I'd be, yes, vessel. I'd be ushered out of temple. For many of us, we'd be ushered out of temple if we treated their temple, if we treated an actual temple as the way that we treat our bodies. And so I encourage you to, even just for today, right? You can do something different tomorrow, but just for today, treat this as you would a spiritual temple. Because in my experience, in my exploration, that's what it is. Thank you guys for the follow. This is your temple. Andrew, if you are familiar with internal family systems, it's also an analogy that I use. I'm a storyteller and a very visual person, so it works really, really well for me. But internal family systems is the idea that within us all, we have multiple facets of self. You can consider these your ego selves, ego facets, masks, what have you, just pieces of personality, right? Just like I show up one way when I'm at work and one way when I'm out with my friends, one way when I show up with my parents and one way when I show up with my lover. These are different facets of myself. And when we look at that as internal family systems, we look at that with the analogy that within us lives all these different characters. A mother, a father, a child, the protector, the damsel in distress, right? We are the totally outrageous, crazy person, the super analytical, serious person. We all have these different parts of our character. And internal family systems is a process by which we can observe and communicate with and interact with and build relationships with these different parts of ourselves to create cohesion and basically a loving internal family environment. I've done a lot of talk therapy. I did a lot of talk therapy for years. And actually, it was after finding internal family systems that I stopped talk therapy and started with meditation and started with dream journeying, projection, meditation, prayer, because I realized that all of the work that I needed to do was conversations with myself. And yeah, a therapist outside of me can assist in that. But the reality is that all of the work had to be done within me. And that's really hard for us sometimes to acknowledge when we would like a quick fix pill, when we'd like somebody outside of us to fix it for us, to do the work for us, or when we feel too weak or too broken to do the work, or when we feel too confused or undervalue ourselves so much that we don't think we're worth doing the work. And that is the saddest, that is the ultimate travesty, is to realize that you are a fucking miracle. Like... The chances of you existing exactly uniquely as you are and nobody else in the entire universe exactly like you is pretty fucking special. You deserve to be treated pretty fucking special. A lot cheaper too, Eric? Yeah. Cognitive behavioral therapy. I looked into that as well, and it was more of a game with the brain, a fight with the brain. Negotiations with the brain than it was with the spirit and with the body, in my experience. And this is why I took internal family systems and moved into mindfulness practices. Mindfulness practices have afforded me the single tool that I've needed all along. And it's just awareness. Because from a place of awareness, I have the opportunity to make different choices. I have the ability to respond differently if I choose to. If I am not aware of what's going on in the moment, I'm just being triggered and tossed around by life, I don't have those moments to respond rather than react. And I'm constantly just being triggered and reacting and bouncing around. But if I have awareness and that trigger, I can either see it coming or I can feel it when it hits and pause for a moment and go, oh, how would I like to respond to this? And that is what mindfulness has given me. And that is the magic pill. That is the quick fix sort of thing. Yes, sometimes I don't make the right decision still. I have the awareness and I'll see the thing coming and I'm like, fuck it. I'm mad anyway. I'm going to yell anyway. Screw it. And there's a conversation about the choice that's being made. Okay, we're going to make this choice. Are you sure you want to make this choice? You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't care. Right, dog? We all make those decisions, but ultimately then you start to recognize that you are the one responsible for your choices and for your behaviors and the things that happen in your life to a degree and not. Don't victimize yourself for every fucking thing that ever happened. We're not shaming and blaming. We're not turning on ourselves and creating an argument or a battle within ourselves. It is a practice of radical self-love. Of every time that negative self-talk starts to pop up and you have the awareness to hear it, to pause, and instead of continuing with it or believing it or buying that bullshit, to put it back on the shelf and go, I love you. It's okay. We all make mistakes. Life happens. You're learning. You're fucking beautiful and amazing right where you are. And if you never, ever changed, that would be okay too. Do you have to be spiritual to benefit from it? Not at all. It's not a practice of spirituality. Like I said, I'm a reverend, so I've got my own spiritual practice. But awareness, increasing your awareness, the mindfulness tools that are used, and this is why I simply call it mindfulness. These tools are not attached to spirituality or to some god or to some dogma or anything like that. It is simply the practices. Can mindfulness practice tamp down those physical trigger feelings struggle with meditation? Yes. Disassociation, TT. Hey, Bishop. Yes, mindfulness can change the way that we physically interact with our world as well. The reactions that we get, because our reactions are based on the programming that we've received from all of these previous experiences, right? Just life. Life caused our brains to create connections based on expectation and based previous experience and ideas for how we're going to protocol for how we're going to react next time it happens. So what we need to do to basically, you're disconnecting that channel so that instead of the trigger happening, you having the physical reaction, your brain reacting to the physical reaction, and then your brain making choices to you based on the physical reaction. We're going to try to cut that off somewhere along the way. Bishop, mindfulness changes the relationships, the relationship to experiences, internal and external. Yes. So one of my favorite practices, Andrew, is one of my favorite simple practices, is simply taking 5 deep breaths. If I catch myself triggered by something, and the first part is really just to notice, okay? First part is just to notice. Whoo, my belly just did a weird flop, right? I'm going to the grocery store. I get anxiety sometimes out in public, so I go out to the grocery store and I'm about to get out of my car and I feel my belly flip. Instead of walking through that and ignoring the emotion, I'm going to pause. I'm going to put my hand on wherever it is that I'm feeling that, and I'm going to take a second just to open up. My belly is always flipping. Oh, babe. Just to take a moment, acknowledge the reaction, because it's just a wiring reaction, right? Just acknowledge it. Notice it was there and go, oh, hi. You can respond any way you want. You could, but with kindness, please, and with love. Don't bitch at it. Just be like, I see you. I hear you. And sometimes you might need to remind yourself, I'm safe. I've got this. Okay? We can do this. And every time you're in the grocery store, If that feeling pops back up, just touch it briefly and go, it's okay, I got you. Pretend like you're talking to a little kid part of yourself, like a 2-year-old who's nervous going into the store. Treat that feeling like something that deserves your love and compassion. And next time that feeling comes up, you're going to build that relationship so that you can pause, notice that feeling, and then decide how to respond. You are responsible for your responses. How do you learn to love yourself after years of negative self-talk? Moment by moment. Moment by moment. So I was going to say, you try to think of your stomach as your friend instead of your enemy. Yeah, that's the big thing is, making friends with ourselves, right? Thank you, Andrew, for the follow. So what I was going to say is one of my favorite tools, right, is to just touch here, to touch wherever you're feeling the emotion, if it's an emotional reaction. If it's a physical reaction in your body, touch wherever that is and give yourself that love and compassion for a moment. If it's a cognitive response, if it's a brain response, if it's negative self-talk, this is one of the things you can do for negative self-talk. You find yourself bitching at yourself, saying something really nasty, stop, take 5 deep breaths. Start here at the base of your thumb where your thumb hits your wrist. Close your eyes and inhale all the way up your thumb and exhale back down the other side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. All the way down to your elbow. And then I always like to add something nice to say, whether it's I love you or you're okay. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes the response in my head is, fuck that bitch. Whoever the fuck was just saying that nasty shit, fuck her. That wasn't cool. I'm sorry. Sometimes that's my self-talk, and my negative self-talk gets the best of me. And I'm like, whoa, hey, who's in here causing chaos? Why are you talking like that? That's rude. Be nice to my friend. But that 5 breath is going to help you create the space to respond rather than react. Reacting is just a repeat action that has been programmed based on previous experience. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you've gotten that programming, because that programming was meant to protect you, was meant to help you interact with the world, was meant to help you just human. But you're more than just human. So when we find ourselves like humaning, sometimes it's important to pause and talk to our human. Make friends with our human. Redirect that negativity in a positive way. Yeah. So if it's a physical reaction, touch where you're feeling it and take a moment with it. Your breath can be your anchor in anything and everything that we do, because your breath is always here. You don't need a tool. You don't need to remember a mantra. You don't need to remember a mudra. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need to pay for class. Your breath is right here the whole time. Your heartbeat is right here the whole time. If you really want to pause and find yourself in like immediate meditation, try to listen to your heartbeat. Close your eyes and try to tune everything else out and see if you can hear your heart. Your mind quiets down along with it, just to listen. May feel like you have a split personality, but it does help a lot. Yeah, get used to talking to yourself. If you're going to do this work, you got to get used to talking to yourself, because the truth is you're constantly talking to yourself anyway. You're already talking to yourself. So it's important to turn back around and start having conversations with yourself too. What if you feel you can't get enough oxygen? Then it's important to notice your breath I mean, if you've got a condition that is causing that problem, then definitely go get it checked out and treated. But if you're finding yourself trying to take slow, deep breaths and you have to gasp for air after a couple of breaths, then don't take as long of slow breaths, right? Find a comfortable, steady rhythm of breath. If your inhale is so big and so slow and your exhale is so big and so slow that you're like in between, then it's too long. Shorten those breaths a little bit. We don't need to reach for the stars immediately. You're not going to master everything immediately, right? So honor yourself where you're at. Hey, love. Honor yourself where you're at in the moment. Love yourself where you're at in the moment. Even go as far as to congratulate yourself for where you are. I don't give a fuck if you just smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. I don't give a fuck if you just slept in. I don't give a fuck if you ate a piece of cake. I want you to turn right now to yourself and go, fuck yeah! Fuck yeah. I made it here. I made it right here. I made it to today. I was on the fucking wake up list. I got me here. I got me here. And fucking love yourself for it. Do I have this on a YouTube video? I want to come back to this again and again. Yes, Deborah. Deborah. I'm a Deborah. I put the replays on my YouTube channel. So if you guys missed the mudra and the meditation this morning, come here. If you guys missed that stuff this morning, I upload these videos afterwards up to my YouTube channel, and that is at Move With Change on YouTube. So now's a good time to do so. Anyway, you guys, replays on YouTube, Move With Change, at Move With Change. So that said, I am going to wrap up and I'm going to head inside, but I want to let you guys know that if you want to find me off of TikTok, if you want to work with me directly, you can find me over at movewithchange.com. Yes, baby, I'm right here. Oh. Yes, of course. If you guys want to work directly with me, you can find me. Come here. Come here. On Move With Change. Turn this way. Hey, I got you. I wrote a note on the front door. Did you see it? No.
I can feel your boo.
Good. I figured that would lead you outside. I love you.
No, I knew the only place you could be was outside.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So, if you want to work directly with me, you can find me at Move With Change. I do private coaching. If you subscribe here on TikTok, you get a free month to our budding community over there at Move With Change. We are creating a safe space where we practice something we call Kaya Yoga, C-A-Y-A Yoga, which stands for Come As You Are, because we all deserve a space to show up exactly as we are in the moment, even if it's messy. Subscribers also get access to the subscriber-only lives that I do. Yes, thank you, Dee. On Friday nights, I do 5 to 7 p.m. subscriber-only astrology lives. So if you're interested in getting your natal chart read, if you want to learn about that kind of stuff, come join me on Friday nights. I will be adding a subscriber-only live next year, another one as well. And just FYI, all of these classes, the Bhakti Bites classes and the tiny yoga class that I do, are going to be moving over into Move With Change. So if you want to keep coming to these classes, if you want to keep enjoying these classes, you got to go to Move With Change and join us over there. And again, if you subscribe here, guys, you get a free month over there. And as a member over at Move With Change, if you want to work with me directly, you get huge, thank you guys, big discounts on everything over there if you're a member. Thank you guys. Aw. Aw, you would have liked that one, son. Thank you, Tripstar. So again, subscribe if you want to get those subscriber-only lives, if you want to get the free month over at Move the Change. If you're interested in working with me directly, you can find me over there, or you can just send me a message. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to just send me a message. I do send Reiki nightly to anybody who wants it. I have a group jar for Reiki, so if you'd like to be added to that, please send me a message with your name, and I will add you to the group jar, the jar for Reiki. Thank you, Tripstar. What else is there? Oh, today, this afternoon is coaching by donation. I'm doing that through the end of December. So we've just got a couple more sessions left. Coaching by donation happens from 2 to 4 p.m. this afternoon. And you go over to Move a Change, click on the top bar. There's a coaching by donation button at the top. Click that and you'll buy a ticket for whatever price. I think the minimum had to be a minimum, so it was $1. But besides that, they're 10, 15-minute sessions. So if you'd like to get in on a quick coaching session, if you want to practice a mantra, if you want to practice a mudra, a meditation, if you want to vent about something, if you want some tools, some guidance, whatnot, all of that is available. And I love you guys so much. I'm going to scoop this guy up and then we're going to go have breakfast. 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Coaching by donation. Tomorrow morning is tiny yoga at 9 a.m. So even if you've got a fantastic, big, full asana yoga practice, come to tiny yoga, because it's really important to also know the variations so that you can do yoga on the edge of your bed or in your chair or in your car or in your office. So tiny yoga at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Can I explain what a mudra is? A mudra is a hand position that works by redirecting the energy channels in your body. And again, this is not a spiritual practice. It's a practice based on the understanding of the energy channels that exist within our bodies, the pathways that energy moves within our bodies. And mudras work by redirecting that energy by using different hand positions. Pacific time, yes. All right, my lovelies. I will put the replay up on YouTube as soon as I can today. Coaching by donation from 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Tiny yoga tomorrow at 9 a.m. Chair yoga, edge of your bed yoga at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And then tomorrow night, we also have the 5 to 7 p.m. subscriber only live astrology live. So if you guys want to get in on all of that, you've got to subscribe. Otherwise, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you later.